He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the Coast View. This is a show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi an extraordinarily wonderful place to live, work, and play. I hope you're having a great day. Kyle, it's still cold outside.
It is still wintertime for another day and a half.
Kyle told us yesterday that he can tell that it's cold because his tire pressure was down, except in the tire that's got the nail in it.
Makes absolutely zero sense.
It's so funny. And you're just going to leave it there?
It's molded to the tire shape. Yes, it's good.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you. Anyway, you know, this is a special topic that we've got today because every day across coastal Mississippi, the local police and sheriff departments are working so hard to keep us safe. They protect us, and they're working with honor when they do their duties. And they're prepared for anything from terrorism to traffic accidents and literally everything in between. I want to, over the course of the next few months, celebrate the men and women who are working in public safety, you know, either policemen and first responders that are actually risking their lives to protect us. So as a result, I've invited our guest today, and I'm thrilled to have a key representative of the police department, the chief of police for the Gulfport Police Department, Chief Leonard Papania.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining me this morning.
No, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a small world. You reminded me that when I was at the Sun Herald and teaching business law at night at Gulf Coast Community College, that you were one of my students. And then I remembered you were a really good student. And then as we chatted offline, you actually at the time were working for Maybell. It was called Maybell Manufacturing.
That's correct.
Yeah. It was a clothing manufacturer that was in Gulfport. And early in my career, I sold advertising, and I used to go call on Flo Williams. And, you know, she and I became friends, and I would see her, once a week for a very long period of time. And I was always impressed with the work they were doing there. What was that all about?
Maybell Manufacturing was a company owned by a family here. Michael Werby, who was originally from Yazoo City, had started a sewing company up there and then moved it down to the coast. And really at their height, right before NAFTA opened up, we had about 140 sewing machine operators in Gulfport, another 140 in another plant in Wiggins that they own, and about 4 domestic contractors and 2 Honduran contractors.
Wow.
So it was quite big. It's always funny. I always tell people I was in ladies' clothing before I became a cop. Mm-hmm. And it always leads to good conversation.
I remember going in to her office, and there were all these fashion magazines. And as irony would have it, I ended up working for the largest privately owned media company in the United States, and they owned Vogue magazine and Vanity Fair and numerous other magazines published around every continent in the world. But I always thought of my visits with Flo, even when I was in that environment, looking back. Amazing time. So what did you do there?
Well, it's funny. I started there. One of the granddaughters, Helen Warby, and I were good friends from high school. And I was not quite sure what I was going to do in life. And I was about to join the military to help pay for school. And she said, "Why don't you come work for our family?" And so I started there May 21st, 1987, because I turned 21 May 20th, 1987. And they gave me a broom, and I started sweeping their warehouse. And over time, they kept allowing me opportunities. And I started doing time and motion studies, and then I went into scheduling their factory. Matter of fact, on Lotus 123, I developed a scheduling program for them. And then before I left, I was director of manufacturing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And Ron Werby, I remember Ron. He was a longtime reserve officer.
Right.
So it's a small world.
It is.
So, what brought you to the police department initially?
Well, it's funny. We're constantly recruiting, and when you're recruiting and hiring young people, you get to hear these fantastic stories. As a kid, they knew they wanted to be a police officer, and every step of the way they did to prepare. And mine was a buddy of mine, and I were drinking beer one night on a Saturday night, and we watched a new television show called Cops. And I said, "Man, that's really cool." And we realized that you could do volunteer police work, and I thought that's even cooler. And so we went, and this is kind of embarrassing, but this is how life is for me, a haphazard career. We picked up a sheriff's auxiliary application and a Gulfport Police Reserve application. The Gulfport Police Reserve application was shorter, so we filled that one out. And April of '91. I got sworn in as a police reserve, and quite honestly, I knew from that point forward this is what I was going to do.
So, had you gotten a degree from Southern Miss yet at that time?
No,
you went back.
No, I was one of those career people. I did a little bit of school and a lot of life along the way, and quite frankly, I was dabbling through school, and then I was up for a promotion. I was in narcotics, and me and a good friend of mine, we both wanted the same job, and it was sergeant in narcotics. And when they made the selection, I was told that day, "You didn't get it because you don't have your education." And I said, "Well, I'll never hear that again." And I literally left that room, and I went down to Southern, sat down with an advisor, and 2 years later, my fourth child was 7 days old, and I walked. And I got my degree, but in life it's funny. Sometimes we just need that little swift kick of reality, to get us moving along. And
I had a very similar experience. So I went, I was a paramedic early in my life, and then was in pre-med, and then went to business, and then did an internship at the Sun Herald and never left. And I went on to get my MBA. And someone one day asked me, why are you getting an MBA? I said, well, I don't want to be sitting at that table that you were sitting at.
Right.
And someone tell me, if only you had an MBA. So I just always was making sure I shored everything up as it related to my career. I wanted to check off all the boxes.
Right.
So that, ultimately it was going to be your performance that spoke the loudest. But when you're in a competitive work environment, that one additional thing that you have, like a degree, for example,
right,
can make all the difference in the world. And it did for you.
It did. And I found, and you can see throughout life, and as I look back at my life's journey, those moments that at the moment seem terrible, inside is a golden nugget if you pay attention to it. And if you really focus on those, your takeaways in your life's journey can really turn in a really great way.
It's interesting. John Hairston, Jerry St. Pay, Dave Dennis, they all tell similar stories about these moments in time. Like the way John said it is that, you get picked, or that whatever that moment is that's happening to you, at the time you almost don't even feel like you deserve it. Maybe somebody over here deserves it better, but you're in the right place at the right time. And whatever that moment is, it changes the trajectory of your life. And the point is, you got to put yourself in a position to find those moments. That people, they're not listening, or they're not putting themselves in a position where they can take advantage of that. And throughout your career, there have been lots of moments, haven't there?
There has. It's amazing. You really don't get to choose your future. You can try and navigate those borders. And the things I have found is just really focus on the moment. And I tell everybody, these young officers, when I hire them, I'll ask them, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And they'll, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I said, well, here's my advice to you. Just focus on the work you're doing right now and doing that the best. And you will tend to create doors to both where you want to go and to things you didn't even realize you could go if you just focus on the moment. And I think sometimes we get a little preoccupied, and I see that more and more, where there's so much people are focused where they want to be, they're not really excelling in the moment.
Yeah, it's someone said to me once, and I'm talking with Joe Spraggins on Friday, but It's about being the best version of yourself now. And then once you have done that now, you raise the bar again, and then you go do it again, and then you go do it again. And you've had so many best versions of you're just constantly raising the bar. If you look at your past, you've worked in so many different parts of the police department that really helped prepare you to become the police chief. Right. What are some of those areas you worked in?
Well, it's funny, going back to my story, when I got in, I really had an attraction to work in the area of narcotics and drug enforcement. And one of the positions I always wanted, I never got. And I wanted to be sergeant in narcotics. And I got beat out by a more qualified guy. He later became my deputy chief.
Wow,
for a slope officer.
That's great. That's great. So let's do this. I want to continue your journey as a police leader. And I want to talk about some of the challenges in policing today. You know, what are you facing? And you know, we'll continue the conversation with Chief Leonard Papania after this break.
Subscribe for free to the Coast View podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Just like money in your pocket, that's super fun. When you trade with us, you always get our best. Super deals are wide, whether you sell or buy. We cash checks, we pay bills, we make loans like no one will, and help you keep your pockets filled. Just like money in your pocket, that's super fun.
So you probably already know Adventures Pub and Spirits has won awards for local favorites Hangout on the Coast and Best Bar on the Coast, but you may not know that Adventures also features an excellent lunch special menu Monday through Friday. Homemade lasagna, burgundy beef tips, chicken fried steak, shrimp creole, and more for only $8.95. Oh, my personal favorite, the seafood pie loaded up with lump crab meat, shrimp and cheese baked in a flaky pie crust. Adventures Pub and Spirits, 1 block north of the Hard Rock, next door to City Hall on Lemuse.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Inspire students and elevate learning outcomes with Ricoh Interactive Whiteboards from R.J. Young. Easily write, draw, edit, move, and save information. Connect your laptop or mobile device to turn static content into interactive lessons. Encourage participation with the easy-to-use Windows 10-based controller. To begin empowering educators, visit rjyoung.com/whiteboards.
Are you going to be turning 65 in the next 6 months? You really need to start working on your options right now. For the last 50 years, you've trusted Gary Smith to help you with those options, and he's still here for you today. Start looking for a simple card in your mailbox. Not a piece of mail with an 800 number, but a simple card to say hello with a 228 number. That's Gary Smith. Talk to Gary and tell him what you're looking for and what you can afford for your Medicare supplemental insurance and Plan D prescription drug plan. That way you can keep your doctor and your meds. Call the Gary Smith Agency or visit online at GarySmithAgency.net. Our policy is taking care of you.
It's a great time to be on the coast, and we love talking about it. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We've got Chief Leonard Papania from the Gulfport Police Department with us, and we were just talking about you wanted to have a leadership role in the drug enforcement area. Talk more about that. What was the appeal of that to you?
to me, it was very engaging work. And as I look back at it, it was some of the great memories of law enforcement. There was a lot of excitement in looking back. There was, a lot of risk taking and camaraderie. I played high school football, and if ever you want to go back to a team sport, law enforcement is definitely a way to go. Public safety is definitely a way to go. But you hear so many things on the national level about the war, or the war on drugs and this and that. There's a lot to that. And if you look at any community and you start looking at crime, you can almost associate 60 to 70% of your demand on law enforcement to some nexus of substance abuse. And so it does have a big impact on us. How we go about addressing that. A lot of talk time could occur on that. I will tell you, back in the day, it was about catching bad guy and locking him up and seeing how many years of sentencing. And it's funny how in life, and I say this all the time, and I'll talk more. There's moments in life that prepare you for your next step. And we talked about education and academics, but that's really, when you look at your education, how much of it really did impact who you are and what is in your life. Maybe for different people, that can be different, but the life's journey has been the biggest educational process for me. And I'll tell you, and it's something I don't share often, but to understand me and to what motivates me, I can't not tell this story. And I have 4 children. Love my kids. I have a wonderful wife, Angela. We have been together since 1988, and she has been my rock. She has managed this person for many years, and she's my go-to. But we got faced with something that, in looking back, is ironic. Here I was excelling in law enforcement. I was a very strong detective in narcotics. But as my career progressed, after Katrina, when Alan Weatherford became chief of police, he asked me if I would want to be commander of operations. And I said, yeah. And it was early in my career, only 12 years in, and making commander, which is the third man in the team, of the administrative team. And so I took it. And contemporary to that time in life, addiction came into my family, and it came in with a major vengeance. And in law enforcement, sometimes we can be callous, and we keep a big line between us and the people we contact. And in a lot of ways, sometimes I think we do it in a way that's not so healthy. And we do it with an us against them. And for a long time, I believe I subscribed to that. But
because there was the good guys and the bad guys.
Certainly, anybody anybody using drugs, they're ruining our society, and what a burden they are. And look at how much work it takes, because they're using drugs, or they're selling drugs and stuff. And it was such a shallow vision of a deep problem. And in some ways, I get it, because nothing educates you like life.
Right.
And I think God finally said, you know what, you're lacking education. And addiction came into our lives. And, my oldest son, it started small. Mm-hmm. And here I was excelling. I had a great career in narcotics. I was 2 years I worked street level. 2 years I was assigned to the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics, and then 2 years I was assigned to DEA. You would think I know something,
mm-hmm.
And I didn't. I didn't see the telltale signs, and it grew in severity, and like so many families that have this either addiction and mental health or the dual diagnosis of both, they have it in their family, and like so many people, it's the dirty little secret, the elephant you try and hide every day. And my wife and I found ourselves dealing with that on a daily basis. And I was excelling in law enforcement, and I couldn't figure out our own home environment. And while I can't remember the chronology of everything, it was all consuming. And there were days it was easier to be at work than it was to try and navigate what was going on in our own home. And so this lasted quite some time. And I always say some things build us up for others. And the whole time, by nature, us in law enforcement, we're controllers, we're alphas. So certainly, if addiction is present, I need to control that. I need to make this get better. And I learned a lot from that. And really a turning point for me with it was the day I accepted I can't control that. And it came it came through a lot of ways. Somebody told me one time, you need to go to Al-Anon. And I went to that. And I was very uncomfortable. And I thought, oh, this is like a cult. But then I started listening, and I realized there are things in life you cannot control. And it's truly, I learned the prayer of serenity. And why does all this matter? Because it was building me to be a better public servant at what I do. And, there were some very tragic moments. There were ER visits. There were overdoses. There was treatment facilities. And the whole time, I'm trying to be a police leader. I used to laugh sometimes when I was deputy chief, and people would call me and say, can you talk to my kid? And I'd say, who am I? I can't even talk to my own. And we learned a lot about addiction. And as I was preparing to compete to be chief of police of Gulfport, we were in the middle of some of this, and it was difficult. But I was also at a point where I was coming to a better understanding. And if you recall, our selection process, for some reason, it became very elongated. It was like 8 months, but in looking back, it was a blessing because it gave me a time to contemplate a lot of things. And there were 4 words that I came up with that I measure myself by daily. And it's humility, compassion, accountability, and accessibility. And there's nothing more humbling as a law enforcement officer to have the problem in your own home.
It makes you empathy. Empathy, no matter what kind of business you're in, is such an important, no matter where you are in your life, the ability to walk a mile in another person's shoes. It taught you empathy, and it taught you that to be a leader of a police force, that there's so many gray areas that exist today. The ability to reach out to people and understand what they're going through ultimately probably helped you open your eyes to the homeless situation.
It opened my eyes to the world. It opened my eyes. And you say to learn to walk in other people's shoes. Sometimes we just need to figure out our own pair of shoes. And one of the things I learned is I need to focus on me. And some people, that's difficult because I know there was a point in time where I was an enabler. You're a dad. This is somebody you love. And here's an ironic moment in life. I had been around addicts. I made a career out of it. And I had been around addiction, and it had never affected me till it was somebody I love. Somebody very important to me. And even at the worst moment, that that love didn't go away, and life has gotten better, but not because of what I did for him, but what I did for myself in coming to the realization I have limits on what I really control in life.
Yeah. Well, humility, as you pointed out, what an important part of life. What a great, really important lesson to learn. I like to say that the more we learn, the more we better learn how much we don't know, and that awareness of what you don't know keeps you wanting to learn, keeps you humble. Hey, when we come back, let's continue this part of the conversation, and then we'll get into some of the challenges you faced as a police chief. But thank you for sharing that personal story. That's terrific. We have the police chief for the city of Gulfport, Chief Leonard Papania, and we'll be back after this break. That's all.
Bullet points.
I'm Eben Brown. Could it be that after more mass shootings, more people will want so-called red flag laws aimed at taking firearms from mentally unstable people?
People that are insane, people that are sick up here, I don't want them to be able to get a gun.
President Trump likes the idea on its face, as if now nobody with documented mental illness or aggression issues would get flagged in a background check.
In addition, the same individual may not have any records that rise to the level of commitment or adjudication.
Adeline Alchin's group supports red flag laws, but what could stop someone from trying to take your guns away just because they don't like you? Amy Swear with the Heritage Foundation.
When properly constructed to afford robust due process protections, red flag laws may provide an important mechanism for intervention with regard to both suicides and mass public shootings.
And those are your bullet points. I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
Everyone in my family uses electricity differently. But when it comes to our Touchstone Energy Cooperative, we all think about it the same way. The co-op is power. Sure, electricity turns the lights on, but power is the information I get from my co-op about efficiency, safety, technology. And I trust the co-op because we are the co-op.
They're our neighbors.
Our friends. Our home.
Brought to you by Coast Electric and Singing River Electric, your Touchstone Energy Cooperatives.
Well, New Year's resolutions are great, but we don't need one to keep having the largest selection of beer in Mississippi, along with the best selection of CBD, herbal products, and smoking accessories. Double Shop. Double Shop has been doing this since 2012 and perfecting it even more every year. Original home to the Mix and Match 6-pack. Now, Double Shop has the best quality CBD and herbal products for feel-good quality of life, plus a great selection of wine, liquors, especially high-end bourbons, and party supplies that help celebrate life, so you don't have to stick to your New Year's resolutions. Double Shop will do it for you. And sign up for the free Double Shop loyalty program. Start collecting stars with your very first purchase. Enrollment is free and easy. Get signed up today. Double Shop, 50 yards north of exit 50 on the right-hand side. And like Double Shop on Facebook. So don't worry about sticking to your New Year's resolution. Double Shop will do it for you. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Have you made your New Year's resolution yet? Resolve to make 2020 a year to remember with a new lifestyle. At Arbor Properties, you'll discover features, amenities, and services that are only found at an Arbor Properties community. Whether you're looking to actively unwind in one of 5 fully equipped fitness studios, enjoy the free fitness classes, or reserve a spot with a personal trainer, Arbor Properties is the place to conquer your fitness goals. Arbor Properties apartment homes features granite countertops, custom cabinetry, luxury flooring, and upgraded fixtures. Arbor Properties' resolution is to ensure your living experience is nothing less than exceptional. Arbor Properties isn't just a place to live, it's a way of life. Let Arbor Properties help make 2020 your best year yet. Find your new home at Arborview d'Iberville, Arbor Landing on the River in Biloxi, Arbor Place, Biloxi, Arbor Village at Pass Road, Gulfport, or Arbor Station in Long Beach. Like Arbor Properties on Facebook.
Does climbing the flight of stairs to your elevated home make your joints ache? Need an outdoor elevator for your home or business? ELS Lifts provides residential, commercial, and cargo lifts designed to withstand the harsh coastal environment. To simplify your elevated living needs, every ELS lift is fabricated with marine-grade aluminum using stainless cables and hardware. Available for beach homes, commercial buildings, barns, and even houseboats. Call 888-990-LIFT or visit elslifts.com.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. We got to talk Jimmy Buffett.
One day at breakfast, he says, I started a new song. He says, about a night and a day in Key West, I played a bar and I got drunk, and coming home, I stepped out on my flip-flop, and I just kept going. I stepped on a beer can. And the next morning, I'm up, and I'm hungover, and I'm trying to make a margarita. I got some shrimp boiling. I can't find the salt. I said, Jimmy, I kind of like this. And he said, yeah, I think I'll call it Margaritaville.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on your local SuperTalk Mississippi station, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
The Mississippi Power Weather Center. Your weather now.
Partly sunny today with a high near 52. We're looking at cloudy skies tonight. 50% chance of showers after midnight. Lows in the mid-40s. Showers are likely tomorrow at 80%. We'll see a high near 60 tomorrow night. 70% chance of rain, mostly before 1 a.m. Mostly cloudy, low near 50. Visit MississippiPower.com/ways to save to learn about programs and resources that can help you save energy and money on your electric bill.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back. We're having just a terrific conversation with the Chief of Police for the Gulfport Police Department, Chief Leonard Papania. And in the last segment, he talked about how challenges and addiction in his own family actually helped him become a better leader and a better person. How's your son today?
He's doing well. He's doing well because he chose to do well. Mm-hmm. And probably that was the greatest turning point and the best lesson. As I told you earlier, in every tragedy there's golden nuggets, and mine was realizing that I had no control over it and accepting that and backing away and finding a better place with it. But he's doing well, and you know, we talk on a regular basis, and it's good. I have my son back.
Good, that's awesome. I talked to Todd Trenchard yesterday. If you didn't have an opportunity to hear that, you can go to Facebook or YouTube and listen to that conversation. But, man, it is an inspiring conversation about addiction and how he came back and how long it took him to come back. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and he found it, and your son found it, and thank God for that. When I was in New Orleans, I had the opportunity to spend time with Mitch Landry, the mayor of New Orleans, and we spent a lot of time talking about the challenges in the police force in New Orleans. But as I learned from him, these are challenges that are facing police forces across the entire United States. Things like retention, things like recruitment, mental health you mentioned. Why don't we take just a few minutes and talk about that? But I want to first say you're retiring on August the 31st.
Yes.
August the 31st. And we'll talk about in just a few minutes what you're going to do once you retire. But your successor is going to take a police force that is in pretty good shape, but still faces challenges. What are some of the challenges you face and that your successor will face?
I think it continues to be a problem. When I came on board with Gulfport Police Department, it was with the intent to retire from there. And I'm almost there. But we don't see that anymore. We, in a lot of ways, I feel like we're like the military. You're hoping to get a 4-year stint out of somebody. And the turnover is immense. It takes 25 years to replace a 25-year employee. Mm-hmm. And you may fill the slot in one day, but I always ask somebody, do you want a 15-year veteran coming to your home when you've been burglarized, or do you want a 15-month veteran? Mm-hmm. And we have to contemplate those things, but you know, the last probably decade has been extremely difficult on law enforcement, and there's a lot of reasons behind it. The national media selected maybe what was good for them, but a very adverse position against law enforcement. Mm-hmm. We have been vilified, and in so many ways we did not earn it. You know, there are some things when you look back at the history of law enforcement, and especially our relationship with the African American community, there's some less than stellar moments for law enforcement that we have to be willing to have that conversation and that talk about if we truly want to move forward in addressing race and race relations in our country, because we are by no means where we need to be. And law enforcement has a certain history there that we have to be willing to talk about. And so many times that important topic gets clouded by a lot of spin the media puts on it that is not healthy. And again, by no means do I dismiss some of the sordid past that law enforcement has in that.
I was telling you before the show that I did a little research on the thin blue line and where it came from. You know, back in the 1800s, and then it was first the thin red line, then it became the thin blue line to talk about the U.S. Army, and then through the 50s and 60s and 70s, it became really a defining characteristic about how law enforcement was between people and maybe the bad side of the world. And then it wasn't until recently, unfortunately, and this is referring to the point that you made about media, is that we have unfortunately white supremacist groups have used that. You've got too often people have used that symbol as a counter protest to Black Lives Matter. So it's really unfortunate what has happened. And what you're saying is that aside from that, there's work we need to do in the community to improve race relations, but we've got to be willing to have the conversation. And too often we're not doing that.
Correct. So I remember speaking. I was invited to speak to the NAACP one night, and when I got up there, one of the first questions posed to me is, Chief, what are the demographics of your police department? Mm-hmm. And at the time, we were about 90% white. Mm-hmm. And the question was posed to me then, what are you doing to fix it? Mm-hmm. And I said, I think the real important question tonight is, what is the NAACP doing to fix it? Because there is a history there where there are members of our African American community that are still alive today that experience some very negative positions, to include some with law enforcement. And so I have an appreciation for it. But in order for us to move forward, we need our communities to encourage our young people to go into law enforcement and to be a part of it. And then we in law enforcement have to make it a place where everybody fits in. Every time I go up to USM and speak to a class up there, my first question is, how many of you think you look like a police officer? Yeah. All the white bald-headed guys throw their hands up. All those hands need to come up. But we don't need to do it by numbers. We need to do it because it's the right thing and get that diversity.
So we're talking to Chief Leonard Papania. You also mentioned that mental health is a challenge. So talk about that.
It is. So many calls to service we send our officers on, and they are faced with people who are in mental health crisis. And while law enforcement needs to be prepared to engage that, we need better systems in place. We need better resources that go beyond a police officer trying to figure it out. We just last week, we had more officers graduate in crisis intervention training, and it is a fantastic model that teaches our officers de-escalation, how to recognize mental health episodes. But there's also an expectation that these officers will be connected to a single point of entry to where they can bring, they will have the statutory authority after they receive this training to bring in people who are in acute episodes and not have to put a charge on them to get them moving. So we're moving in a right way, but the state of Mississippi really needs to take a hard look at where we are. If you go back in 2011, when the Department of Justice sent a letter to Haley Barbour, our then governor, and said you need to decentralize mental health. Well, we reduced centralized mental health, but we have not shored up our community. They said you have to find community solutions, and I don't think we're there.
Right. So how have body cameras changed things.
Well, no one's talking about them anymore, are they? It was a big subject about 4 or 5 years ago, and we all spent the money, and guess what it revealed? Sometimes the public is just really ugly. And it did not generate what I believe the media was looking for. I like them because it allows me as an administrator to take a look. But I would challenge anybody else. Who else is willing to wear a camera all day at work?
Yeah.
And be judged about every moment they're at work. And I do believe we need to hold police to a high regard, but as it turns out, so many times what we said was exactly what we were experiencing.
It's a tough situation. What you think it's the generation? The generation that is working, young people who are working today. They don't look at a job for life, whether they're a police officer or whether they're working for the power company. As a general rule, they don't stay with one company for a long time. They'll move to the next thing. It's kind of instant gratification or whatever you want to call it. But what are the additional things that are on a young cop that helps, that contributes to the lack of retention?
In the use of force continuum, the most extreme use of force is deadly force. On the other end, it's called police presence. And it used to be the mere presence of a police officer would tend to elicit cooperation. And I think on a national level, and we don't experience it to any degree like we see on TV, but on a national level, they've worked hard to diminish the respect of law enforcement. So what does that mean? The police presence is no longer part of something we're able to use. Law enforcement has to escalate cooperation now because we've diminished that respect.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. But it's good to hear that our experience here in coastal Mississippi is not nearly
we got it good on the coast.
What you see on the... And I think that's because people here are generous, and as a general rule, they're respectful. And, there's always going to be, a standout situation. But as a general rule, I agree. We're very lucky here. The people here are the reason why coastal Mississippi is such a great place to live, work, and play. In our final segment, I want to finish anything about the challenges, but I want to shift gears because the chief is moving on after he retires to be involved in an incredibly worthwhile cause. And I want to give him a chance to talk about that. Chief Leonard Papania from the Gulfport Police Department will be back after this break.
Sometimes the issues of life require the assistance of a professional. Whether it involves an asbestos-related disease such as mesothelioma, personal injury from an accident, a real estate issue, or even an impending arrest charge, you need the help of an attorney. Cumbest, Hunter, and McCormick have more than 100 years combined experience representing the interests of Jackson County and Gulf Coast clients. Cumbest, Hunter, and McCormick, proud to support the Ole Miss Rebels. 762-5422, cchmlawyers.com.
Summer days, winter nights, my heating and air ain't working right. Before my troubles get any worse, I'll pick up the phone and sing this verse. Barnes, oh Barnes, won't you help me? Barnes Heating and Air.
Hello, Barnes Heating and Air.
Barnes Heating and Air, 832-9457. 832-9457.
2020 is here, and it's clear that this is the year for a new John Deere. It's time to do more. More cutting, more planting, more hauling. Think SunSouth. More pulling, grading, and lifting. Think SunSouth. More digging and clearing. You got it. Think SunSouth. Right now, you can drive a new John Deere 3025 tractor package, including tractor, loader, box blade, 5-foot rotary cutter, and a 7x20 trailer, all for as low as $285 a month. Or save up to $4,300 off a John Deere 1025R with loader. 2020, new year, new Deere, and SunSouth is the clear choice for the most dependable, most affordable equipment made. Clearly better, clearly affordable, John Deere and SunSouth, helping you do more and save more with the best prices on the best equipment. Visit your neighbors at SunSouth or shop online at sunsouth.com.
Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends January 31st, 2020.
When you need to pick up a last-minute birthday card or gift, stop into Love's Pharmacy and Gifts in Pass Christian. Yes, Love's is a full-service pharmacy combining local hospitality and affordability. When half of the store has unique gifts, beautiful decorations for your home, fragrances, and free gift wrapping, you only have to make one stop. Love's Pharmacy and Gifts, 12345 Vidalia Road in Pass Christian. If you love great service with a smile, you'll love Love's Pharmacy, with a second location now open in Ocean Springs. Are your drains draining slow? Did you know this could be the beginning of a bigger problem with your plumbing system? At Masterflow Plumbing, we keep your pipes flowing, serving the Gulf Coast commercial and residential markets. Masterflow Plumbing, from water to sewer lines, toilets to water heaters, or faucets to clogged drains. If it has a pipe and it quits flowing, Masterflow will keep it going. See a leak in your kitchen, bath, or yard? Call Masterflow Plumbing. We know leaks inside and out. Proudly serving the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Call 228-870-0471 or visit masterflowplumbing.net.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
His love for the coast is why he's here. It's Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back. We've got Chief Leonard Papania from the Gulfport Police Department with me this morning, and we've really covered the waterfront from his early days through his own personal family challenges with addiction, and then on to his life as the police chief, and then the challenges that they faced along the way. But I'm really interested to learn more about his passion for the homeless. He's actually involved in an organization called Open Doors Homeless Coalition. And in fact, when he retires in August, he's actually going to be committing a significant amount of his time there. So why don't you talk a little bit about how that came up and where that passion comes from?
It takes us really back to last spring. There was ongoing concerns, and it was always being sent to the police department about the increasing presence of unsheltered homeless people in our city. And as we all know, homelessness is a human condition. It's not a crime. It used to be on the books you could charge someone for being a vagrant. It used to be you could charge somebody for panhandling. That's not the case anymore. And we as a society decided those don't need to be laws anymore. So we as a society need to assume our responsibility, and how do we address this? So we were trying to wrap our head around the problem at the beginning of the summer, and when we looked at it, we said, we need to do a census, do a count. So I reached out to Open Doors Homeless Coalition and Salvation Army, said, look, we've got this homeless issue going on in our city. We want to do a head count. We're probably going to go into all the camps. Would y'all want to go with us? Well, we all sat at a table and a conversation started. And I always assumed, and shame on me for thinking this way, but I always thought, well, Salvation Army, they give them sandwiches and give them better tents, and Open Doors is always making sure the homeless are comfortable out in the woods. They're perpetuating the problem. I quickly learned we all had the same desire. We wanted to end unsheltered homelessness. And once we realized that, we sat down as a group, we formed a mission statement, and we meet every 2 weeks. And the key to this program, and what has led me to want to go to work for Open Doors, is we solve problems by name. Just like my son, when he was having a situation, he had a unique set of situations. We all have a family member who has a hodgepodge of issues going on, and you have to solve it by the person. Well, the whole approach of Open Doors is the same way. We look at the individual and we try and solve their individual problems to lead them to.
So, Leonard, what did the census reveal?
The census revealed, we have quite a number. And what we ultimately do now is my officers on their cell phones have an app, and it's called Counting Us. When they engage a homeless person, they'll enter it, and then we start working on that situation. Now, a lot of the homeless come and go before you even get to affect them. 30% of all the ones my officers have engaged over the since November is when we really kicked off, 30% have been moved into permanent housing.
Wow.
Not some dormitory somewhere. They're living like everybody else.
That's terrific. What would have happened to them before?
They would have remained out. A lot of people think, well, they choose to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised how few people to really choose to live that way.
How many kids do you find?
Kids, it's not a lot, but we find a lot of moms with small children. A lot of people get a couple of checks behind and they're homeless. They're living out of their cars, and we move quickly to take care of them.
Wow, I really appreciate your work there, and I followed it on Facebook, and it's something we've always got to be focused on. But I love the idea of not just trying to keep them fed and keep them warm, but give them a home. 30% is a really good number.
Yeah, and kudos to the people that give them daily food and stuff like that. But really our goal is to move them into sheltered, permanent housing, and then let's start working on jobs, and let's get those lives put back together.
So in the minute we have left, how do you want to be remembered as police chief of the city of Gulfport?
I just want to be remembered that he made a difference, and he helped this city, and he loved this city.
I see that. I see that in you, that it's great to have a leader with a heart. And it wasn't just your son's challenges. It was you. It was who you were coming into this. That you have the ability to lead with passion and a heart. And even in preparing for this, you said there are no topics out of bounds, that we can go anywhere you want to go in the conversation. And the fact that you bring humility to the table, that you're willing to say what you don't know. You provided really good leadership, and it's going to be great to watch you as you move on. August 31st, is that the official date?
That's right. That's right.
August 31st, when you move on you're actually going to be working directly with Open Doors Homeless Coalition, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, as an employee or volunteer or what?
As an employee.
Yeah. So you're going to have a key role there. I really look forward to watching you there, and maybe in 6 months or so, we'll get you back.
I'd love to come back.
Talk about what you're learning, and where do we go from here? So, any final thoughts?
No, it's been a great day, great talk, and I look forward to remaining a part of my Gulf Coast community. Just a new role.
Well, God bless you, and thank you for your service, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Very good.
Okay. Well, we'll have rolling weeks. My former mentor at the Sun Herald tomorrow. I can't wait. I get to have a conversation with my mentor. What a history he has here in coastal Mississippi, and it ought to be a terrific discussion. So join us tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Twitter @SuperTalk MSGC.